What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. Today's topic, we're discussing how you can prepare for a recession or a crash or a depression if you're broke. Let's dive in. All right, guys, there are 5 ways to prepare for a recession, a crash, a depression if you're broke. I'm gonna list them all out for you, and then we'll go deep into detail on each one. Number 1, buy jewelry. Number 2, buy non-perishable consumables in bulk. Number 3, store up on physical cash. Number 4, sign up for an auto investing app, something like Acorns. And number 5, get out of debt and learn how to budget. We're gonna dive into each one of those. Before we dive in, if you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and that like button for the algorithms. It would mean the world to me. I would also like to point out that this video is not full of advertisements. I'm not sponsored by any of the companies that I'm going to be mentioning here in this video, and I'm not even recommending any of the companies listed in this video. I'm simply giving you examples of companies that you can buy things from that I'm recommending here as part of how to invest or prepare for a crash if you're broke. So number 1, I said buy jewelry. Now, if you've watched any of my videos before, you understand the power of precious metals in terms of being a store of value, a storehold of wealth. There is nothing else in history that comes close to gold and silver in terms of the power to just maintain and hold on and store your wealth. They are simply unmatched. There are other things that will make you money. Those are investments. There are other things that will fluctuate wildly in terms of their value. Those are speculations. And there are other things that just slowly lose their value. But when you look at the last 2,000, 3,000 years, the value of gold and silver is extremely stable. If you needed a custom 3-piece suit in Greece 2,000 years ago, it would cost you roughly an ounce of gold. In today's dollars, that's about $1,500. Today, if you go to Greece and you want a custom 3-piece suit made for you, it will cost you roughly $1,500 or 1 ounce of gold. So the ability of something like gold or silver to store your wealth and store your value without eroding slowly over time is unmatched. The other reason why you're looking primarily at gold is because it doesn't tarnish, it doesn't rust, it doesn't decay, and it's extremely recognizable, especially over silver. It's also one of the most liquid assets in the world. You can always go anywhere in the world and get close to the prevailing global price for gold. There is not a huge amount of arbitrage available between price discrepancies depending on your region, your location, your currency. Now, I want to point out here that I know this video is about how to prep when you're broke. When I say broke, I'm not talking about the person who literally can't afford to pay their bills and is really struggling to make ends meet, borderline homeless. If you're in that position, I have actionable advice for you in my book called Financial Heresy. I'll link it in the description below. You can find it on Amazon. Buy the Kindle version, it's cheaper. And that will help you get to a point where you have a little bit of money left over in order to start preparing for things. But for the vast majority of people, the problem is not having enough money to prep, it's just what they're doing with their money. And so doing some of the things in this video will help you prepare more than things like going out to eat or putting too much stuff on your credit card and paying a ton of interest. So if you're at the point in your life where things are really tight, but you still have a little bit of wiggle room to be able to start preparing, that's what this video is for. So that's why I say buy jewelry, because I've personally had friends in the past who say that they're struggling to get by, yet they're going out and they're buying things like the Apple Watch or AirPods, or they're going out to the movies or going out to eat a lot. And so I know that jewelry is expensive, but so are all those other things. And so if you're committed to preparing financially for a crash or a recession, a depression, these things are doable. You're just doing them instead of doing something else. So buying gold or silver jewelry is a great way, especially as we come up on the holidays. You can use these things as gifts instead of something else that will just lose its value very quickly. And let's be honest, for those of us in relationships, you're probably buying jewelry anyway. I would just recommend buying real gold or real silver jewelry. That way you're buying something that will store your wealth instead of something that will just lose its value and never be worth what you paid for it again. Okay, so the second thing that I recommended is buying non-perishable consumables in bulk. What is an example of this? An example of this that I love is rice. If you buy rice in normal proportions, a 1 pound bag at a time, you're probably paying anywhere from $5 to $15 a pound, depending on the rice and depending on the store. But if you buy it in bulk, it doesn't take up that much room. You can probably find some room in the corner of your closet to store a 30 or a 40 pound bag of rice, but you're gonna pay pennies on the dollar for that rice. You might pay 50 cents or $1 a pound instead of $5 to $15 a pound. So number one, you're saving money right off the bat just by buying it in bulk. But number two, it's going to take you a very, very long time to get through all of that rice. And so by the time you finish up that rice and have to go buy it again, inflation will have hit prices and that rice will cost a lot more in the future than it does right now. And all along the way, instead of having to buy that rice at multiple intervals as the price is going up, you're using something that you bought at a much lower price. And so in real terms, you're getting a real 10 to 20 to 30% return on your money because you're using something that you spent a very little amount of money on that you would have to spend a lot more money on if you're buying it in intervals. Rice is a good example, but you can do this with any consumable item that is non-perishable. So if you have very little money and want to have a real return on your money, try as hard as you can to buy items in bulk because you'll save money on the purchase and it's a hedge against inflation, which is the number one danger to our economy. Okay, number three, I said store physical cash. Now this one's not ideal, but I still recommend it for somebody who is really, really tight because number one, the collapse of the dollar will probably be a slower collapse and not something that happens all at once. And so while storing physical cash is not going to be as good as storing precious metals in terms of holding its value, it's more advantageous to storing your cash in the bank for a couple of reasons. Number one, if we do have an economic crisis, there's a good likelihood that banks will shut down. There's a good likelihood that the ATMs will be empty. You see this happen in countries all over the world time and time again throughout history. When there are big economic crises, banks shut down. So having at least a little bit of cash stored up outside of the bank in your home will give you the ability to at least have a little bit of purchasing power. Now, obviously, it's not going to pay you interest, and some banks pay you interest. It's also not going to cost you any fees, and some banks charge you fees. It's not going to be a hedge against inflation. It's still going to lose its purchasing power just like your money in the bank will. Now, unless you hide it or store it well in your home, it will also be susceptible to theft. So that is a danger. But like I said, in the event of a big crisis, you will at least have some money at your disposal. And once you start getting to the point where you maybe have a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s stored up in cash, then you'll have enough to be able to swap that out and purchase some gold or silver with that to start storing your value instead of letting that value just slowly erode away by inflation. Number four, sign up for some sort of auto investing app or service like Acorns. Now again, I'm not sponsored by Acorns, but Acorns, if you're watching, I'd be happy to take your money. When you sign up for an auto investing program, it makes it really easy to store up a lot of money really quickly without ever feeling the pain. Especially if you do it from something like direct deposit, you never even see the transaction leave your bank account. If a portion of your paycheck just automatically goes into some investment, you're never seeing that transaction leave your bank account, and it's slowly just building up for you over time. Now, if it's invested in something like US stocks, you still are susceptible to a crash. You might see a massive percentage loss in your money if we do have a stock market crash or recession or depression. But number one, we can't time these things. We never know exactly how long it'll take for something like that to happen. And number two, when something like that does happen, most of the time it just means stocks are on sale. And so if you continue to purchase small amounts, regardless of what the market is doing, over time, you're going to be buying things at lower and lower prices, and that'll help your snowball build up over time, especially when you look at the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. And using something like Acorns that rounds up transactions from your debit card every single time you make a purchase is another really easy way to not even feel the pain of the investments, especially if you're somebody with low self-discipline and haven't been able to force yourself to manually make those investments each month. It's a really easy way to start pushing a portion of your money away every single month and not have to worry about remembering or having the self-control or the discipline to do so. And like I said earlier, a lot of financial troubles and problems are due to not doing the right things rather than not having enough money. And so automating these things will sometimes make it a lot easier to start getting ahead. Now, number 5, and I think this is the biggest and most important one to prepare for a crash, recession, depression, is get out of bad debt and start budgeting. There are countless programs available for free all over the internet that will help you with setting a real effective budget and get out of bad debt. I say bad debt because with the current economic conditions that we are facing and the type of crisis we are likely to face, having good debt will likely help you. Good debt is something that is used to purchase an asset. An asset is something that pays you money. A personal residence does not pay you money, it costs you money. And so debt for a personal residence is bad debt. Debt for investment real estate is something that you might have a renter renting out and paying you rent. As long as your cash flow on the property is more than the debt service on the mortgage, and that's good debt. You have cash flow, passive income, free and clear every single month. In an inflationary crisis like the one we are likely to face, having good debt will become more and more powerful because the debt amount doesn't change, but prices and costs will go up. And so if you have a $200,000 mortgage on a house that you are renting out, and right now, after expenses and mortgage and fees, you're netting, let's say $200 a month, well, when rent and prices and costs go up, you might start netting $300 or $400, $500 a month as rents go up. But your mortgage amount is not going to change. You'll be able to start charging more for rent, but again, your bank won't be able to change your mortgage amount. And so good debt is likely to benefit you a lot in the next crisis. While bad debt, something like credit card debt, a car loan, a mortgage on a personal residence, student loan debt, these are all things that are only hurting you right now and they're preventing you from being able to prepare as effectively. And lastly, stay away from debt that is adjustable in its rate. And again, things like credit cards, some home equity lines of credit, and especially adjustable rate mortgages, or even small business loans sometimes are adjustable in their rate. Stay away from those because once we hit the next crisis, we could see a massive increase in all interest rates across the board that are adjustable. Fixed rates won't be able to change by law, but anything adjustable, you'll have it spiked on you. So stay away from any debt like that and don't use debt to buy liabilities because you're paying more for the debt and you're buying something that's losing you money. Cars lose value over time. Things like electronics lose value over time. So if you're gonna use debt, use it to buy something that is providing cash flow for you greater than all the costs associated with it. Other than that, get rid of all of your debt as fast as you can because the faster you get rid of that debt, the more money you'll have freed up to do more productive things financially. And I say learn how to budget because if you can't make ends meet right now during the good times, what's gonna happen when things get really ugly? So at least while we have this facade of an economically fantastic time right now, where we have low unemployment, rising wages, the stock market's still going up right now, use this time to build discipline. Get your spending under control because if you're hurting right now, the pain that's coming will be unimaginable. But if you can learn how to do without right now, then you'll be better prepared to survive and thrive through the hard times that are gonna come. So those are my 5 tips for anybody who wants to prepare for the next recession or crash or depression if you are broke and you have very little money left over each month. Those are real, they're actionable, they're effective, and they'll help you move forward little by little. Buy jewelry, buy non-perishable consumables in bulk, store up on your physical cash, sign up for auto investing services and apps like Acorns, and get out of bad debt and budget effectively. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked the content, please hit that like button for the algos and the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great day.